Hi everyone, I'm Manyu, logging in from India. I'm so delighted to be talking at Config today to speak about some very exciting things we do at Gojek. I've been working with design systems for the past 2 years here. At home, I'm pretty busy with my 3-month-old kid, singing and playing with him, trying very hard not to make him cry. That's pretty much about it. Over to Ronak for the intro.
Hey everyone, this is Ronak. I'm so glad to be here and I'll be sharing our ideas and taking some back. We at Gojek are doing some really cool things along with evolving our design systems and workflows. When I'm not designing, I'm either planning for my next road trip or playing fetch with my cat, though she never gets anything back. I guess that's enough about me for now. Here is Keith to take it away.
Hi, I'm Keith. So, a little something about myself. Professionally, I started off as an interaction designer at Gojek, and lately I've been deep diving into design systems, its documentation, and the nitty gritties of creating components both on design as well as code, and how to ship them faster and better. Outside of work, well, I wish I had a cat like Ronak does, but since I don't, you'll find me obsessing over cats on Instagram or sipping a cup of coffee. So the three of us are part of the design systems team here at Gojek, and we are so excited to present at Config this year. We'd like to thank each one of you joining across time zones and the team at Figma who've invited us. Today, we're going to be taking you through how we design a super app for the incredible culturally diverse people of Southeast Asia. Before we begin though, here's a peek into what Gojek does. Well, I'm itching to say that Gojek does everything, but to name a few services, we have transport, deliveries, food, payments, bills, rewards, shopping, and businesses across Singapore, Vietnam, and Indonesia. 260 million Southeast Asians launch our app over 200 million times a day to use one of our 15 plus services. Every day, our riders cover over 16.5 million kilometers. Now, that's a lot. Like, to put it into some perspective, that's more than 21 round trips to the moon and back. And to add to all of that, approximately 2.5 million drivers and merchants rely on us for their daily income. Yep, we quite literally build products that nations run on. It's a complex task to build an identity that relates with a diverse set of users coming from different cultural backgrounds, occupations, and languages. When I mean diverse, I mean, take for example, a homemaker in Singapore doing their weekly groceries, or a street food vendor in Indonesia who wants to go digital, or simply a group of friends who can't decide on what food to order over the weekend. I know I'm not the first to say it, but a single image can speak 1,000 words and evoke an emotion in us like no other. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked at a picture that instantly transported you to that place and time? Was it of your children, your partner, your parents, or was it just a meme that made you laugh so hard that you almost choked on your lunch? You see, images hold that kind of power in them. What if we could harness this power to change the way we communicate with each other? What if we could change the world by finding a way to bridge that gap between people who speak different languages? Step in our UX illustrators, who craft vibrant illustrations that instantly click with the user. They maintain a unique design library for each region that helps target a niche with relatable nuances like local characters and cultural symbols. Here's an example of how the team made some region-specific illustrations to welcome the user when we detect that they are in a new country. And while booking a ride, we show a few contextual points of interest on the banners. The team also worked on a bunch of fun characters based on a real-life campaign. Joe and Jack have been an iconic duo in Indonesia. This duo is used throughout Gojek to support the user in both happy flows and at times some not so happy flows. Another fun duo similar to Joe and Jack is Bro and Bro. These two characters are the foodies of Gojek and are used across our food services to add a ton of delight to user flows. Now, a major chunk of any experience is made up of words. When it comes to language, though, it's best to stay away from assumptions. English is quite universal. I'm sure everyone will understand. You see, this thought could cost a company a huge chunk of their users who prefer using their devices in their local language. At least it did for us, where a large portion of the market was left untapped. So this got us thinking, and we started with one simple question. If Gojek could talk, what would it say? We then built on this idea, and our team of excellent UX writers created a personality that was youthful, conversational, and empathetic, all while keeping it in sync with our illustrations. Take, for example, release notes of an app. I'm personally someone who looks forward to app updates. It's almost like unwrapping presents at Christmas. But sadly, the most common note for a majority of my apps tend to be bug fixes and improvements. Update after update, it's the same thing. Our UX writers took this space to introduce our new features with a playful tone by telling a story and making it really relatable. We introduced a feature a while back called Safe Trip Kit that has a bunch of tools to add to the safety of the user when on a ride. To announce this in the release notes, here's an example of how we use Gojek in first person to narrate it all out. Here's another one where we used lyrics from BTS's Dynamite to announce a similar safety feature release. And another one where we put in a riddle for users to solve and find out the new feature in that particular release. Utilizing this most often ignored space, our UX writers created a ton of impact, and it helped not only increase our update numbers, but also created a ton of user engagement in a very unique way. We especially have writers from each region to make sure every word is meaningful and contextual to the user. This helps us be more local and comforting. In this example, this simple dialogue for no internet connection, the localized copies have different meanings based on the language. In English, we say, "You're offline, stay strong." Whereas in Bahasa Indonesia, the localization reads, "Your internet is dead." While in Vietnamese, it reads, "Your connection is lost." It feels more contextual and colloquial than probably just literally translating it. By now, we know what our incredible team of designers can do when it comes to localization. Whether we're talking about specific regions or different countries, there's a lot that can be done to make sure everyone feels at home with our app. But beyond all of that, there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that people who use our app in one country have a predictable experience when using it in another. Our app takes up multiple roles and characters as the landscape changes across regions. This means a couple of things: a consistent visual style and tone for our illustrations and copy. It means designing a scalable interface, and it means making sure that people traveling from one of our supported countries to another can seamlessly continue to use our services with the same ease and trust. At this point, one comes to realize that designing a product for a single person is as hard as designing for a million. So how do we manage to do so much? We have one word for you: Asphalt, our design system. And to tell you all about it, I'll hand it over to Manyu.
You might be wondering why asphalt. There's a famous Indonesian saying amongst our drivers, "Salam Satu Aspal," which translates to "It's the road that unites us all." This was a very apt metaphor for our design system, which aims to unify all our service offerings in a coherent way. And that is why we call it asphalt. We have a range of design tokens, basic ones like color, typography, spacing tokens, and more. Even decorative ones like light effects that can overlay on shapes to make them three-dimensional. Tokenization is a well-known part of most design systems. But what makes our design system so unique is how we use these tokens to bring an insane number of products and their sub-brands under one theme. It guarantees a consistent cross-product experience, while its variety enables design system consumers that freedom to play around and create designs without being restrictive. Let me tell you about our initial days of expanding to Vietnam and Thailand. The green colored, bright and bold Gojek app was already a go to brand in Indonesia for almost all kinds of online services. We needed that same identity to scale across regions. But we had a problem. Forcing a brand on people in a new country wouldn't work, as we were totally alien and unknown to them. Why would they trust us? To build that trust, to become a part of their daily lives, we needed to convey a local feeling. That's when we dove deeper into colors. After some groundwork, we decided to go with shades that resonated with each region, colors that people were familiar with. With Vietnam, for example, we went with a shade of red, inspired by the culture and history. Our app felt local. And guess what? We didn't have to change a single component, all thanks to the way we built our asphalt tokens in an adaptive design system. But we didn't stop there. Remember what Keith said earlier? We created an entire set of illustrations and localized the copies to reflect the regional landscape of the country, to build that trust, to show that we care. And it worked. Today, we have not just one, but 4 services active in Vietnam. A similar story repeated for Thailand as well, where we went with a different color to launch our services. Our design system is set up in such a way that our products are constantly evolving their look and feel, and yet they'll never lose consistency in interactions or quality. The secret ingredient? It's the way our component libraries are divided. We have 2 of them, a main and a workshop library. I'm sure you all are familiar with a main component library. It consists of all the commonly used components across every product, such as buttons, input fields, cards, tooltips, and so on. Having these usable components significantly reduces design and development effort. Now, all these tokens and components are maintained in the code side using the same structure too, thanks to the dedicated UX engineering team. They collaborate closely with the design systems team in maintaining the libraries and improving the system with better tools and processes. Before we look at our workshop library, let me show you what the previous version of our design system looked like. Close to 600 components in one library. With more requirements coming in every week, this system wasn't scalable. What you see on screen are variations of just one component. Over time, it felt more like an open playground than a library of components. This is when we shifted our approach a bit. Let's take a peek at our current workshop library. Since each of our products are different with distinct users, they have different flows as well. And that often calls for components outside the main library. What you see here is a screenshot of our current workshop library. We have divided the library into products that contribute to it. To give you an example, here are some components specific to our loyalty program, Go Club. See, Workshop provides this freedom for designers to build custom components for niche use cases coming from our services. They do this using asphalt tokens and main components as a base. This token-led approach ensures visual consistency at the same time allowing designers to be flexible in their approach. Believe it or not, these components that you see are not from the main library. These are just some components contributed by various products to our workshop library. As you see, all of this enables design system consumers to naturally give back to the system. Now, you can have all the tools and systems in the world, but it wouldn't be of much help if you don't have guidelines around how to use them. To talk about some of us, here is Ronak.
Designers are humans and humans make mistakes. Even with all the systems present, we as designers want to be more creative and break away from such systems. In order to not move away from the systems and descend into chaos, we follow some practices and processes that we'd like to share. Every design system needs to be kept in check. We get new requests to add workshop components almost every week. We make sure to review these components before publishing them to our team. This practice helps in keeping the design system robust and non-redundant. During our routine audits of workshop library, we look for similar components, both visual and functional, and promote them to the next stage. A component at this stage is considered a common component. Once we are done questioning its existence, we get to its documentation. This is the most important stage for any component to mature and enter our main library. The documentation includes a component's variants, states, usage guidelines, consideration for accessibility, and finally some specification for motion and haptics. The UX engineering team then develops the component and we publish it as a main component in both design and code, thus making it ready for consumption by other designers. We do weekly design critique showcases to give feedback to each other and talk over some niche use cases. The showcase happens in an open forum wherein the entire design team can participate. While giving our feedback, we ensure that it's always clear and actionable and nobody gets hurt. Now let's dive into some of our tools that complements our processes. Since we have hundreds of assets across products, we have built an asset management tool called as Coffer. Coffer helps to boost our daily workflow and improve efficiency of both designers and developers. Coffer acts as a living database for all our graphical assets. The creative team uploads their assets to this portal where the developers can search and sort them based on their needs. This eliminates the tedious exporting process that most of you all in the audience are familiar with. Yes, we don't export assets anymore. Coffer does the work for us. Another tool that we have built to index our design system tokens is Mystique. It helps us map Figma tokens to the code libraries and generate consumable code snippets for both iOS and Android. Even with such active governance, we face challenges in our day-to-day design work. DLS is means to an end and not the end itself. As Keith mentioned about our user diversity, we come across certain scenarios that our system can't cater to. Yes, we are incomplete. We don't want our systems to have such shortcomings regularly. Hence, we test our designs early. To make this process faster, we create interactive prototypes using Figma and other third-party tools. The research team closely interacts with our users on a bi-weekly basis. They generally collaborate for experimentation and usability testing. Our research team ensures that the focus group have equal distribution in terms of age and background. They love going on the road and talking to users in person to get that unbiased personal experiences and feedback. Although since the pandemic, we've been conducting it online. The research team then gathers both qualitative and quantitative feedback for that required feature. Once they have that feedback, they work on making it consumable for other designers and stakeholders. Then they present these insights in an open showcase and suggest a way forward for all of us. Amidst all these practices and processes, we adhere to Gojek's primary principle: leave no customer behind. We have put in efforts to make our design system accessibility compliant. All of our design tokens and components are AA compliant. We are working towards achieving AAA standards by adding more high contrast colors to our design system. We run numerous accessibility initiatives within our team and other products. One such example would be our Figma plugin that helps create screen reader components faster. All such collective initiatives help our disabled users across Southeast Asia to use our app with ease. Here's what they have to say. Ivo here is very pleased that Gojek includes them while doing research around accessibility features. Fitri prefers Gojek over other products as she feels more connected with the app. And these are just some of the 260 million people using Gojek and are really happy about it. And on this note, we would like to conclude our presentation with some key takeaways. Always build your system with an adaptive foundation. Personalization should be your first priority, whether if it's for your products or for your users. Have a solid base for your system so that it's easier for experimentation. And lastly, research and design needs to go hand in hand so that your system is made for the users and not for you. Think of your design system as Legos. The bricks themselves are so strong and adaptable. They can be used to create nearly anything without any barrier to age or culture. A kid anywhere in the world can pick up a Lego set and know exactly how to use it, while an architect can have a completely different vision and make something totally new. When you think about it like that, Legos really are amazing, and so are your design systems. We'd like to thank each one of our functions at Gojek that contributes towards our design system as fault. Thank you and feel free to reach out to us on the following handles. Have a great config.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have an incredible config ahead.
Thank you. Have a great config.